I loved the discussion we were having the other night, just grabbing some drinks, and you brought up the point, and I've been just like obsessing over it since we were talking about it over drinks, that you were like, Bobby, we have all these beliefs that we know about, these known beliefs, and then we've got all these beliefs that we don't know about, right? Like, and they're all equally valid. They're all informing our reality.
Yeah, totally.
As much as the known ones are, in fact, more so, because at least the known ones, we can identify them when they pop up, and we can.
We're kind of self-aware of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we kind of know why we're, making the decision we're making, or and experiencing life in a particular way, right? Because we're aware of those. Now, I tend to believe, and this is kind of the fun we were having, and I challenged you, I think, because I wanted to know more, right? I was like, I need to know beliefs I'm not aware of.
Yeah.
So I challenged you by saying, I would love for you to tell me a belief you think I have that I'm not aware of.
Which is like the most uncomfortable thing for
Super,
me ever.
right? You're like,
I'm like, oh,
can I have another drink?
I can't do this to anybody.
And I was like, hey, I'll do it for you.
Yeah.
and it was really fun. It was a great night. Now, I tend to believe that we have more unknown or unacknowledged beliefs.
Infinite.
Right. Than we have acknowledged ones, because, our acknowledged beliefs in life are kind of they're kind of front and center. Yeah. Right. They're with us. They're kind of based on, the things that are contemporarily happening in our life. Yeah. And things happen, things change. We learn new things. We read a new book. We do all these different things. We we listen to podcasts, and all kinds of information is coming in. Yeah. So we're always creating these new beliefs, and there's a bunch of new ones kind of that we're always working from. But to your point, I love what you just said. We have a lot more that are antiquated. Right. And we don't acknowledge them, or we've just kind of forgotten about them.
Yeah. They're not uncovered yet.
Right. Right. But yet they are material in the way that we experience life, the way that we perceive life, and in addition to that, they're material in the way we think, and they're material, and if they're material in the way we think, then according to the equation you and I practice, and there's a whole lot of expressions of the way you think is the reality you're going to be in. This is just a kind of a fun hack expression of it. But if they are a part of that, and they are a part of our thinking, then they are an unknown part of that thinking that is creating our perceived reality, or our probable reality in the future. Yeah. Right. So we had some fun with that. And we, since then, after our session with Jason, which was insanely cool.
My gosh.
So that guy's amazing.
He's incredible.
And we got a lot from that. We took so much of that conversation, and you and I kind of analyzed his beliefs based on, here's what we heard, and it kind of would line up with these various beliefs. And we have some follow-up questions for him, right? We're like, hey, we think we have a set of beliefs here that we'd like you to underwrite, right? We'd love you to kind of just check the box on the ones that you think are valid, and and not the others, right? So that'll be a fun follow-up with Jason. But I really go ahead.
That's all I was going to say. Is that was one thing that really stood out to me that was interesting about that conversation. Is I'm realizing, if one of our constraints to understanding all of our beliefs is just uncovering these beliefs that we don't know about, it's interesting to me that having a conversation with somebody, that to me seems like a great way of uncovering your own beliefs, because you're like seeing life through their eyes, and you're understanding their beliefs, and then you're kind of reflecting on that, like,
well, I
something
think you're 100% right, and I think that is the power of friendship. Yeah, and that's the power of fraternity and sorority, and that's the power of, like, you see people that congregate at their different, religion, church, and, all of the things that bring people together.
Right.
There's more than just, the premise of, whatever it is. It's the collaboration of thoughts. I find I will get way too wrapped up in beliefs if I get stuck in the office.
Yeah.
And I'm not communicating with friends
Right.
and whatnot. And actually, Tracy is really, really good at recognizing when I'm too far down that rabbit hole. And she's like, let's get out.
Yep.
Let's go do something. And as we get older, we get more particular about, who we're spending time with.
Yeah.
Right. As we're young, we just have piles and piles of friends.
Right.
And all these different concepts are coming at us. And so, aside from, all the information bombarding us from social media and media, all the different intakes that we have, really, I think you're spot on there. I think the ones that are the most influential, right, are the ones that come from something that really pulls our heartstrings, or something we trust, or from an influence that is influential to us, like a friendship, a trusted friendship, any relationship on that front.
Yeah.
Right. I think it can also come from reading a book, watching a movie, and this drama plays out, and you kind of see this new idea.
Yeah.
And we talk about how a belief really is an idea that, falls somewhere on the spectrum of good to bad. And wherever, we put that idea is kind of the birthplace of a belief, right?
Right.
So I think you're right. I think that the more we can try to identify our beliefs, and the more that we can, leverage our friendships and leverage those influential messages.
Yeah.
I think we can put ourselves in more of a flexible state of belief.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Where I'm not so
collecting
rigid on it,
Yeah.
and I can get to a point where I can ask the question, is this belief serving me?
Right.
If I knew the belief.
If you know
right?
what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the journey of life. It's like collecting and identifying and uncovering these beliefs as you go, and continually getting new ones as you go too, right?
Yeah.
And then even I've started writing them down and kind of categorizing them.
Yeah.
And if I'm struggling with something, maybe I'll review those and be like, is it touching on one of these, or is it not touching on one of these, and it's something I haven't identified
Yeah,
yet?
that's really interesting. That's a good approach. When you can be in that mindset.
Right. Yeah. You're not always.
Hardly ever, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of one of those things like meditation. You kind of have to, budget a time to be like, okay, I'm going to do some belief exercises.
Right. Or some journaling, or
it's not something that, you just kind of do as you're kind of cruising along in your career, or hanging with friends, or you're with family, or whatever.
But the big ones that stand out, the big
Sure.
ones that you stumble upon, then you're like, oh, okay, I need to remember this.
Yeah. And we've kind of started we've got a Google Doc going here, and you and I have been kind of creating some examples as we talk to people, and as we kind of find ourselves. I challenged you at the bar.
Yeah.
You gave me some great ones, and it was awesome. And I think I gave you a few.
Definitely.
Yeah. But it'd be fun to kind of talk about those, because one of the things that I find, it was one of the biggest challenges for myself when I started really realizing the power of belief, and I you and I have been talking about this a lot. I think the first question we always get whenever we do coaching or, anything is, people will be like, I just don't understand what you're talking about. What do you mean about a belief?
Right.
I know what I believe. And I challenge them. I'm like, you're the only one, because I don't know everything I believe.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, let's get into it. Right. So we get into examples, and then you and I actually, I think it was your idea. You were like, we need to start organizing these. Right.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated it. because we've really come up with some good stuff. So I'm just looking at the top of this list, right?
Sure.
We got a long list here. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But we look at this and we have this idea here that inherent goodness is in people, right? So you have somebody that's grown up in a supportive environment, loving community, having positive role models. Tends to lead to this belief that people are fundamentally good and kind.
Right.
Okay.
If they've grown up in that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our argument.
Right.
Right. That there's this environment, and that environment has created this belief that people are fundamentally good and kind.
Right.
Fundamental.
Yep.
Right. We can look at that and we can say, well, what's the counter to that? You can have a situation where somebody has, grown up in exactly the opposite environment, right? They may absolutely still think people are fundamentally good and kind, but they also there's a chance that based on conditioning, based on their experiences, based on traumas, based on all kinds of things, it could be people are fundamentally not good and kind.
Right.
I don't want to say the negative because I'm more of a believer that people are fundamentally good and kind.
Right, and hopefully we'll get there if they don't start there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not a zero-sum game for sure. But
for sure.
but really, this isn't about how you got to the belief. It's that there are beliefs that people are fundamentally good and kind, or they're fundamentally not good and kind. Right. So I'm kind of going about my day, and I interact with people. I'm gonna have a much different perspective
for sure
if I'm on one side of that coin than the other side of that coin.
Yep. And that is going to inform your experience reality.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, even if it's
triggers your emotions, it then
it'll change the actions
supercharges
you
your thinking, changes your actions, and then we end up with
there you go.
Our equals equals reality, right? Exactly. So
in a perfect that's a perfect example. Now that same person, if they, later in life, they have some outside influence, whether it's a friend pointing that out or they see a movie or whatever, that causes them to identify that belief. Now they can decide, is this something is this a belief that is serving me? Is this a belief that I want to rewrite? Or maybe they feel that it is serving them and they don't make a change to it, but they have that choice, right?
Yeah. I agree.
And whichever one they decide, that will inform the thread of reality that they end up on, because there's no doubt it's going to change what you're experiencing.
Without question. Your perception is going to change, and it's going to change your probable reality. Right. Yes, everybody has a choice.
Yeah.
So far, the experience, this is a tough subject. And a lot of people that catch on to this and they start asking questions, and we coach them, and they become a part of the equation, and they're functionally using it tactically. It's just one of those things that in general, and I'm the same way, you don't naturally want to identify your beliefs.
Yeah.
And with some people, I find it's just the last thing in the world they'd ever want to do.
Yeah.
Some people find it incredibly interesting, but it is, yes, we have a choice. Identifying and acknowledging, or I'm going to say acknowledging the belief, because you acknowledge, then the identification happens. But acknowledging the belief is an incredibly difficult thing to do.
Yep.
And then once you do, you can go through this process of reconciliation.
Yeah.
You can reconcile, all of your intelligence that you have against the backdrop of that antiquated belief, let's call it, right?
Yeah.
That belief that was developed at a time in your life that you had a very specific set of thinking. You don't have that set of thinking anymore, and you're more intelligent, you're more experienced, you've been inspired, to your point.
Yeah.
All of these different things inspire us, and so we kind of have this new feeling about life. But yet what I've found and what we've found through this process, and we've experimented with this a ton, and as we've worked with people, we have found that, that may be the case, but the problem is if some work hasn't been done to acknowledge past beliefs, they're still installed. Yeah. They're still integrated, right? Yeah. So you're right. We have that choice, but, getting to the point where, we can acknowledge them, I think is key. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And I hope I'm not oversimplifying. Like, every step of that is really difficult. That's the life journey. It's like, first just identifying it. That's hard. And like you said, you have to be willing and able to reflect on yourself in that way. And then, the process of like, okay, now I've identified this. What do I do with it? Or should I do anything with it? Or do I, whatever this belief changes in my thinking, is that something I can tactically use sometimes and not other times?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
No, I totally agree with you. And I'm not hearing simplification there.
Yeah.
You and I practice this, and then, I'm so fortunate and grateful that I can bounce them off of you.
Yeah.
And just be like, hey, this is what I'm really struggling with here.
Right.
And you kind of help me see it. And that's what friendship is about.
Right.
When, we meet with people and we coach them. It's not something we charge for or anything. It's just, we love doing this. It's a passion project. And, we love as we teach, we learn.
Exactly.
Every session I ever have with somebody that we work with, in the solving for our strategy, I identify beliefs through that conversation.
Definitely.
That I'm like, oh my gosh,
right,
I've got that exact belief.
Yeah. It's like a mirror. It's like you're looking at a mirror
seriously.
And seeing your parts.
It's really fun to do this together.
Yeah.
With people, and you just learn so much.
Yeah.
So that, and we can't see them ourselves.
Yeah.
A lot of times, that if you can get into those discussions, and you can, like, we'll talk about just a general problem.
Yeah.
And from the outside looking in, you can start sort of reverse engineering it, and you can kind of get to the belief, right, through a series of questions and process.
Yeah.
But to do that for yourself is a really difficult thing to do.
Right.
We've created some hacks, and we'll talk about that today.
Yeah.
And that's what the equation essentially is for.
Yeah.
Here's the different ways you can come at it.
Yep.
Right. Some more, I'd like to share some more examples.
Yeah.
Because I think, we have had some really cool examples over the course of the last few months. I just think they're cool. I think they make sense. So some are positive, some are negative, some are just sort of, par for the course,
Sure.
benign. So just like one here, trust issues, right? So a person who has been betrayed or let down frequently might believe, it could be this, this belief mindset of people are not to be trusted, or I must always guard myself in relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
whatever kind of relationship that is,
it doesn't matter what it is. It could be any relationship.
Yeah.
You could have just met them, at a party 5 minutes ago, but my guard is always up.
Yes.
I need to really, 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 really know you before I can trust you.
Yeah.
Right. Not just like, hey, I just met you, and you mind watching my stuff here while I, go, whatever.
Yeah.
So that one's really interesting, and that's a bigger one, right? That's one that, if you were to ask somebody, they probably, I totally think that way, or absolutely not, I don't think that way at all.
Right.
On the flip side of that coin is, I overly trust. Right?
Yes.
I trust everybody.
Yeah. And it's interesting what conditions led to that.
How did that go so bad for me? And then your loved ones are like, why did you trust that person? You
Yeah.
know? So there's kind of like, you know, both sides of that coin, right?
Right. And that's true with every kind of belief, any belief.
Yeah.
There's always an inverse, and
Yeah.
they're both equally valid, right? I think, you know, this
Well,
is
there's 1,000 versions of each one.
there's 1,000 versions of you. Yeah.
Exactly.
And yeah, none of them are, you know, I mean, you could say like there's a positive or a negative, but it's like they are all equally valid in the effect they have on you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They are laying the foundation, you know, for like, let's bring up the equation.
Yeah, totally.
That'd be kind of fun. So, you know, this is just something that, you know, I love our one-on-one sessions because we can just like really get into the weeds on the equation. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, you know, we're talking about specifically the beliefs, right? So as beliefs are sort of informing, you know, our perspective.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, we are cruising along in life and things are happening, right? Unless you're just standing in a corner with your eyes closed, you know, things are happening, right? And as those things happen, you know, they sort of get, you know, your beliefs sort of qualify whatever's happening.
Yeah.
Right. So you have all these beliefs, lots and lots and lots of them, and something happens, you're having a conversation and your beliefs kind of qualify them. Now we talk about your beliefs either imaginatively or not, you know, as being like, what if the belief was really just a version of you? Like, just imagine that. Just imagine, you know, if you're in that time machine and you could go back to the time when you adopted that belief, right? Whatever the circumstances were. And maybe it was a slow process through conditioning or something. But at some point in time, you were just like, that belief was core. Now it was central. Yeah. It was fully developed belief, right? And you've adopted it and it is my belief, right?
Yep.
So if you could get in the time machine and you could go back to that time when that belief, you know, became fully ingrained.
Yeah.
And you could meet yourself, right, with all of the knowledge that you have now.
Yeah.
And, you know, what would that conversation be like? Right. That's what we mean by belief personas. Like if you could personify yourself as the person you were when you took on that belief.
Yeah.
Now that's also not easy to do. It's possible. We have found that. We don't all have time machines, unfortunately. But the idea there is that, you know, that belief, you know, is going to qualify, you know, what's going on in your life.
Yeah.
And then that's going to deliver a set of emotions.
Yep.
Right. So that qualification from that belief is going to deliver a set of emotions. Those emotions could be super positive. Those emotions could be super negative, or they could be anywhere in between.
Yeah.
Right. But this sort of concept of, you know, B element E, this little symbol here means that your emotions and your beliefs are kind of in set membership with each other.
Yeah.
Right. Now I like to simplify that, and as I run the equation myself, I simplify it and I'm like, okay, all emotions are coming from some belief. Right. That could be argued all day long.
Totally.
But it's a fun simplification because I can then use emotion as a tool.
Yes.
So as the emotion triggers, I can ask the question, I wonder what, you know, belief is tied to this emotion.
Yeah.
And I find that when we do that, it kind of flips a switch.
Yeah.
From being played by the game of life to playing the game of life. It's like a total level up, right?
Yeah.
So I'm emotional, you know, something's triggered me, but then if I can kind of operate in a dual capacity and add, I wonder what belief is, you know, causing this trigger.
Right.
You know, without being the victim, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's this person that cut me off that is causing these emotions. No, I'm sorry. That's a cop out. You know, that's a victim mentality.
Yep.
You know, pretend our eyes are projectors, not seers.
Yes.
Right. We're creating our reality.
Right.
And so, I can ask that question. Okay, I'm emotional. What belief is tied to this emotion?
Yeah.
Right. And that's one way we can.
That's one way.
Get introduced and acknowledge a belief.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like you were mentioning, the other ways, right, are seeing this in other people as you're having conversations or friendships, or seeing this in, other beliefs in community, and reflecting on yourself and seeing where you align with that, or being introduced to beliefs in, film or music or whatever.
Yeah.
I think, what's his name? I think Roger Ebert. He's like a film critic.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing film critic.
Yeah.
He said...
Siskel and Ebert. You're too young to remember that show on like CBS.
Oh, yes. The thumbs up, thumbs down, right?
Yeah, right.
Yes,
I think that's where that came from.
Yes.
Like years ago, right?
Exactly. But he had this amazing quote, and he said, film is an empathy machine.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're just seeing these novel experiences that maybe you haven't experienced, or maybe you have experienced, right?
Yeah.
And identifying in that new things about yourself.
Yeah.
It's more about changing yourself in seeing these novel things than it is about, just watching something entertaining. It's about reflection.
I love that. That. And not to like totally go on a tangent here,
please,
but, it reminds me of a Goddard.
Oh, awesome.
Thing that he was like, there is no, and also like the principle of fecundity and the principle of plentitude, and those sort of philosophical concepts that all realities are valid or
cannot be undone, right? Or
created. Well, they all exist.
Yeah.
There's
simultaneously.
I'm trying to think of the word, but in this particular Goddard thing, he was like, there is no fiction.
Yeah.
There is no fiction.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, that idea of like principle of fecundity, like, if you can imagine something in the mathematics of infinity, and this is a lot of work that Einstein did, right?
Right.
It exists. So I think that's interesting. We immerse ourselves, those of us that can immerse ourselves into a story, right? And just appreciate the story.
Yeah.
Right. And appreciate the creativity in the story, right? And what was the premise of it, and just kind of immerse ourselves into that story.
Yeah.
We can kind of really come out of that with a belief.
Yeah.
We could come out of that and go, wow, I didn't have that perspective before.
Right. And now I've uncovered it.
Right.
And now I can, with that new thing I've uncovered, I can now tactically, examine it. And go forward with that new understanding about myself.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think you bring up a really good point. And this is one that we have found through a lot of experience in this, passion project. And that is that new beliefs don't always neutralize old beliefs.
Right.
And I think that's really crazy.
Yeah. Interesting.
Like,
say that again. So
new beliefs don't neutralize old beliefs.
Like, even if they're in conflict.
I think we think of ourselves more as, it's this sort of
singular
this
mind.
Muscle computer between our ears, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And that, like a file in a computer, if you were to update the file, the old data is gone.
Right.
But I mean, I don't tend to look at beliefs as these sort of nebulous memories in some file in our head. I don't see it that way.
Yeah.
I really see it more like I lived that and I was that person. And that person was very real, isn't as valid as I am right now.
Right.
And that person, still has the belief, but I don't.
Yeah.
But the problem is that's kind of where these sort of unknown beliefs, be it small ones, big ones, whatever, there's lots of them that are just, they're just benign.
Yeah.
But I think that's at least what I have found, and I've found with a lot of people that we study with this, right? And that we practice with this, is that they're just like shocked and amazed about a specific belief that they acknowledged and uncovered, and there had to be this reconciliation between who they are now and this antiquated belief.
Yep.
And I think that, when we kind of figured that out, that became an important feature in the tactical function of, bringing the equation to the table as we operate through the day.
Yep.
Right. Because, even though we just may not believe something that we believed in the past, doesn't mean we haven't acknowledged and reconciled that. Right. And it doesn't mean that antiquated belief is not, is not creating or advising our perspective.
Yeah.
Right. Which, then, so we have, belief and emotion cruising along here, and then that's going to inspire our thoughts and action thoughts and, whatnot. And then that's where we end up with our equals R.
Yep.
Right. So if we look at that, we talk about, vision boards. I'm going to create a vision board. So I'm going to put a lot of thought energy into a future reality.
Yeah.
Right. Well, if we think of this again, like a simple algebraic equation, 1 + x = 2.
Yeah.
And you change it to equals 3.
Yep.
So if you change your equals R to some new equals R, X needs to change.
Yeah.
Right. And what we find is that if your beliefs are not in line with that new reality, then you're going to get triggered. Right. Yep. And you're going to get emotional through that process.
It's like cognitive dissonance.
Right?
Yeah. You're holding two conflicting ideas in your head.
That's exactly right.
Because it doesn't align.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, somebody, will, I do this. I find that a lot of people we practice this with, they'll aim for something and just, they have every single tool to get there. But they're just like, why do I keep, tripping myself up? And it's like, because you need to think of your greater self and all of your beliefs.
Yeah.
And when, we say to love yourself, like love all yourself, not just this version,
right?
Like all the versions that you've been in, and take some time to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. I think it's cool. Skepticism about success and happiness. It's a negative one. Sorry. I've got a lot of positives here too.
I don't know. I like this one.
Experiencing repeated failures or seeing happiness as fleeting might lead to beliefs like success is always out of reach, or happiness never lasts. Sad belief.
I mean, and there's so many, that category is huge. Right?
It's massive.
I think that's one I think about. I think actually one of the ones I put on there was like a belief in, a belief that it's easy for me to learn new things, or it's hard for me to learn new things, or in regards to success, like a belief that I can only be successful at the thing I've had success at in the past. Right?
Or you're very analytical and you're a perfectionist. Okay. Definitely. And so I could see you saying, I only can succeed at it if I fully and 100% understand it.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I've mastered it, and then it can be a contributor to my success.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. Major for me.
When in reality, it's just not remotely.
I'm beginning to learn that.
Yeah.
It's hard though.
Well, I mean, you have new beliefs, right?
Yeah.
And you're reconciling them with the antiquated beliefs.
One step at a time.
You're absolutely right. That's a really good example. There's so many.
Yeah.
But that's kind of one of those things too. That's kind of a bigger one as well. But as we're cruising along in life, and whatever circumstances kind of got us in that sort of perspective, right? That sort of belief mindset. We don't recognize that when opportunities come about or relationships come about, we don't recognize that a belief is sort of surfacing and operating there in the background, right? We can know that that's happening because we can get emotional.
Yeah.
Right. And when I say emotional, it's little tiny emotions and big ones. It's feelings, right? Yeah. Like, just how do I feel? Am I anxious? Am I just not comfortable? Am I suspect? Am I worried? I think the trick is to identify the emotion first And then if you can do that in the circumstance of life, in the moment in life, then from there you can, say the two most powerful words in the universe, which is I wonder, right? I wonder what belief is tied to this emotion.
You just said something that reminds me of our conversation with Jason. You were saying, like, when you are in this new relationship, or you're covering new ground in an existing relationship, these new beliefs might come up and it's creating this tension. What's interesting about that to me, and what it immediately made me think of, is people's tendency to not seek out novel experiences and instead fit into these comfortable settings, because they're not having to confront these things. It's more comfortable. You're not dealing with that cognitive dissonance. You're fitting into your comfortable zone, and then you're not branching out. You're not meeting new people. You're not having conversations with novel individuals or having novel experiences. I mean, you can extend this to what we're seeing with social media,
which
right?
terrifies Jason, to your point.
It terrifies Jason.
He was like, Jason Clark is like this person that lives life that the moment he senses any comfort, like, because he knows, he just like fully just goes the other direction.
Because he has a belief that comfort means he's not growing, right? Or he's not.
Or he's stuck in a rut.
He's stuck in a rut.
Right. Comfort is a rut.
Yeah.
And uncomfortableness means I am playing the game of life.
Right.
Comfort means it's playing me.
Exactly. And that's been like, I've been thinking about that a lot, because I think he's right in a lot of ways. Like that discomfort.
I love my comfort times, though.
You got to balance it.
I love the motivation I get from Jay, but I have these times in my life where, they're just comfortable. And I'm like, I'm really enjoying this hour.
Absolutely.
He
so
takes comfortable.
It to an extreme. But to that point, right? If you're having these novel experiences, or you're meeting new people, having new conversations, that's when you're learning. So balance it. But
no, exactly. And by the way, that's a lot of the work and practice, we've done with Jason. And he's really, he's found that it's brought his anxiety way down. We used to say, I've said to him many times, you're nuking your R. He's like, what? Like, you are just overpowering your vision board. You're thinking about this reality so much. Just take a minute to give your beliefs a rest, right? And let's acknowledge the ones that you're supercharging, right? Gratitude and appreciation, right? So being raised in an environment where gratitude was emphasized, or experiencing acts of kindness can instill a belief. Life is a gift, and I am thankful for what I have. Right? General belief, just going about, your day, never really in your mind. Things are cruising along. Something bad happens, kind of takes the edge off it, right? Because it's a gift. Like, we're in this cool experience, and in the blink of an eye, we'll be done with this experience, right? And life's a gift, right? If I have that belief, and that I'm thankful, I'm naturally kind of wired to sort of, and I'm not saying this for me personally. I think I'm generally a positive person. Some days gratefulness is, more obvious than other days. Right? Definitely. But if I'm a person that I kind of have this sort of natural disposition that I'm just super grateful about, everything. So I'm going to bed at night and I'm, laying down. I'm just like, oh man, what a great day. So many grateful things. Some bad things happen, but I'm more focused on the grateful things. I think that's really cool. There's somebody that you and I practice with. He's brilliant, Lynn. He's just awesome. And we were talking about, he was talking to me how he leverages, being grateful and it kind of is a cool hack, kind of gets him out of, he's working on identifying and acknowledging and reconciling some beliefs that kind of will get him kind of stuck in a space, like in any given day. But then it'll be like, so many great things happened,
Right.
today? Why am I thinking it was a bad day because of this
One thing.
one individual that, caused XYZ?
Yeah.
Right. And then, a friend is going to be like, hey, let's don't get caught up in the victim mentality. Right.
Right.
I mean, we are the projectors of our reality. Yeah. So what he does, and I love it, is he just like, when I feel that way, I can't immediately go to the I wonder, right? I'm emotional.
Yeah.
I can't immediately go to the I wonder. Yeah. I wonder what beliefs is caught, it's tied to this emotion. He's like, but I do find that I can get there and I can calm myself down if I start just focusing, kind of forcing myself to focus on the things that I'm grateful for that day. Not like in general, but like literally specifically like that day. I'm grateful I got to this appointment on time.
Yeah.
Simple thing. I'm grateful that the traffic worked with me because I had just exactly the amount of time I needed to get there. Right. Little things. So it doesn't have to be big things, but he found that really helps like short circuit.
Yeah.
That situation.
It's like he's switching his software, right?
Yeah.
It's like in internal family systems, right? He's switching
100%
to the part of his mind that is grateful.
Yes.
And he has to trick himself into it. He has to go around.
That's exactly right.
And be grateful for all these other things.
Yep.
And then boom, now his mind is in this, I call it software because I'm a robot. But no, he gets to that place where he's grateful. And then he recognizes that challenge he faced is ultimately a gift, and it's something he can be grateful for as well, because it's something that is causing you to learn.
Yeah, exactly. 100% agree. Yeah, 100% agree. Empathy and understanding, right? Being taught or naturally coming to an understanding, just your disposition, different perspectives can lead to the belief everyone has a story, and understanding each other is key to harmony. Right. Again, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not preaching my beliefs. I mean, these are, we're just coming up with these.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people believe that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people believe that, I think a lot of people that, Lonnie is amazing. Lonnie Main, he's our next guest. And I'm so excited about that. He's such a stud.
I was going to say that I think we got that from his book, right? Like in his book, it says everyone has a story.
Yeah.
So that's clearly a belief he holds.
No, exactly the case. And oh shoot, it just left my mind. There was something he what was it? Oh yeah. Sorry. It just left me, but then it came back. He says on stage, this is kind of one of the things I've always loved hearing him say on stage, but he says, treat those with more as equals and treat those with less as kings and queens.
Right.
That's like one of his big things. And, and that's kind of what we're talking about here a little bit, I think. Right. We're going about our day and we are in tune with the fact that, this is a shared experience, this sandbox, this game, this life game we're in, the sandbox game we're in. Yeah. And that, we can really, we can really enhance the experience by being empathetic, having empathy and really just, kind of setting our selves up early in the morning to say to ourselves, I'm going to listen to others.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not going to get just stuck in my mind and, my life.
Yep.
And I'm going to listen to others and, they have a story.
Yeah. There's
some story there. They have a whole set of beliefs and this narrative's kind of playing out and that might, create, some experience I have with them.
Yeah.
Let's say it's not super great or they upset me. If I can, understand the fact that I might have nothing to do with the way you're communicating to me.
Yeah.
Right. then I can really dish out some grace.
Hmm.
You know, I can really kind of just do that. And I, you know, the times that I find that I can do that, those are such good days.
Yeah.
You know, I get to the end of the day and I feel like a real person.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I feel like a person's person.
Right. And that act of dishing that grace out, that makes you feel better than they made you feel bad, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah. And not trying to be better than them.
Absolutely not.
I'm just really just trying to be like,
you know, I wonder what I'm meant to learn from this. And
you have a story.
You have a story, and yeah.
I don't know what that story is. But you know, if I understood it more, then I think there'd be more harmony.
Mm.
Now you can ask the question, but maybe not. I mean, you know, I feel like boundaries have gotten a lot tighter, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like, you know, asking people, like, what's going on with you? Like, you've crossed a boundary. It's like,
right.
okay.
It makes it hard.
It's like,
yeah,
you know, so you have to be kind of selective.
Yeah.
Right. But I do think though that if I think if you could just open yourself up, and you know, I tend to have a belief that I tend to have that belief. I tend to have a belief that, you know, there's something going on there, you know, that's, you know, causing whatever tension is being involved in this thing. Yeah. And you know, what is it?
Yeah.
You know, or else just like, look, I'm here. You know, if you want to talk about it, I'll just listen. You know, I don't need to solve a problem, but you know, I'll just listen.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
I think it's important. Fear of failure. Did we touch on this one, or did I already say that? Fear of failure, experiencing severe consequences from failing or being overly criticized throughout your life.
I don't think so.
Might result in the belief failure is not an option.
Right.
Or if I fail, I am a failure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was so funny. I was just talking to somebody. I was at the finance company earlier today.
Yeah.
And I was explaining to them they were having a tough day and they were kind of off. And I was trying to help them kind of, you know, to not be worried about it was an off day. Right. But here's success and here's failure. I mean, it's like, no big deal.
Right.
Don't worry about it.
They're
I'm not saying you failed, you're a failure. I'm saying these are successful, these are not.
Yeah.
But what I shared was something that I heard about Jeff Bezos, which I think is insanely cool. Yeah. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I think I read it in an article. So who knows? I think it sounds good.
Yeah.
I believe I took it in as a belief.
Sure.
I adopted it and I became more impressed with Jeff Bezos after I heard it. But my understanding is that he has some sort of compensation structure within, you know, the business development and R&D sections of Amazon, where he bonuses his people on how fast they can fail.
Yeah.
Have you heard that?
I think I've heard it from you before.
Oh, okay.
But
it stuck. Like I was like, no way, that is so cool.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because I think what his understanding is, failure creates understanding, right? Like failure creates all these lessons, and then you're going to learn from those and take those and apply them and make something amazing.
Well, and I left out a really important part, and you just reminded me of what it is, and thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, I think all of that is definitely a part of it. I think he's also trying to short circuit cognitive bias.
Interesting.
Am I saying that term right?
Explain your meaning.
Okay. He bonuses them on how fast they fell.
Okay.
Did I say that before?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. But that is hugely important.
Right.
So literally they measure
the speed
in which you fell
Yeah.
at this new product or this new strategy or whatever it is.
Okay.
And you get a bigger bonus the quicker it fells.
Right.
Because his thinking is that, businesses can fall in love with their ideas.
Mm-hmm.
You can
you gotcha.
come up with an idea, you fall in love with your idea.
Yes.
And you only listen to the biases that support that idea.
Yeah.
You don't listen to the realities.
Yeah.
You just literally
to challenge it.
You just literally put it out of your mind.
Right.
You just don't even hear it. It bounces off you like you got like,
selective hearing.
Exactly.
Totally,
Starship Enterprise,
yeah.
shields up.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing where it's like shields down.
Mm-hmm.
No, take the torpedoes. They just, we're stupid to be here in the first place.
Yeah.
That's Jeff Bezos kind of thinking.
Yeah.
And
that
I love that because in this kind of belief mindset, if I fail, I'm a failure.
Yeah.
Which kind of starts with failure is not an option.
Right.
If I'm going about life with that as a belief, let's say I grew up in an environment where, that was like, crammed down my throat.
Yeah.
And so I've got this belief, right? I don't even really think about it, but I'm operating that way. And so my perspective on life is that. And what does that do when, and I'm just going to pull up the equation here again.
Sure.
So what does that do? So, I'm cruising along and I want to try something new, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking the belief is visiting me saying, you better fucking get this right.
Yeah.
You better get this right. If you don't, we could fail.
Yeah.
And now I'm emotional about that, right? I've got fear, anxiety, I've got all this other stuff, and that kind of sets my thinking. And then, maybe I don't take that next step.
Right.
Maybe I just don't do it. And, that's one of those beliefs I'd really want to.
It's limiting in that way.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And I think that's part of his point too, is besides the learning that comes from the failure, if the failure is associated with fear in the beginning, then you're just going to try fewer things. And that's going to result in less progress and less, amazing, wild ideas, novel ideas, because they're all going to be constrained by that fear. Right.
Yep.
I definitely, this was a major fear for me, I think, especially earlier on. I'm, still reconciling with it, but getting better at it. The thing that was like borderline therapeutic for me into work on this belief is I started rock climbing a lot.
Oh.
And it's like, that is a public failure machine.
Well, especially at our gym,
Yes.
our rock climbing gym.
There's like
there's
1,000
people like climbing around doing.
Yeah.
And in your mind, they're like,
in your mind, you think that, right?
They're not.
But the thing
care.
is, you're just, the whole sport is just failing over and over. And
Literally,
over.
That's what it is about.
The sport is failure.
Yeah, no, it literally is.
Yeah. It is climb as hard as you can until you fail. And then climb, and then when you do succeed, climb something harder.
Yeah, exactly. Because the other thing about our climbing gym is that they change it every How often do they change it?
Like every week.
It's totally different and totally and so it's a riddle. Every
Right.
single one of those is a riddle. So it's not like you're mastering 400 different climbs in there.
And then you got it down. No. It's always
You're always failing.
You're always failing.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
You just inspired. We're gonna hit the gym.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
let's go today, dude.
There, like,
let's go today.
Yeah, maybe we should go today. That's a good idea. I like that.
It is the best like immersion therapy for getting comfortable with failure.
You know what? You're absolutely right.
I think it's true of a lot of sports too.
I 100% agree with that. Well, I'm a Yankee player. I'm looking to get my pitching down.
Right.
But you know what? It's interesting. Jet played baseball for years, since he was tiny, and I think he played for 15 years or something like that.
Yeah.
14 or 15 years. And, he'd get frustrated or he'd get a little too, analytical at the plate or something like that. And again, I'd have that conversation with him and say, look, man, baseball is a game of errors.
Yeah.
And you've got people making tens of millions of dollars to error 70% of the time.
Yeah.
Plus 80% of the time.
Yeah.
Plus.
Yeah.
And but when they get it right, it's really, really good.
Yeah.
But, when they get it wrong, you're kind of getting into the end of the season, and it's, it's a little more tense, but everybody's just dialed in and everything. And somebody, a shortstop misses a grab.
Yep.
Whoa, that stings him. It stings everybody.
Yeah.
But then you look at it's a game of errors.
Yeah.
You're right. I think that's a good call. I think it's a really good call. Super cool analogy. I'm so excited to go climbing.
No, totally. I mean, and if you've grown up not seeking these kinds of activities where you're constantly faced with failure, to your point, I think it's much scarier.
Like I agree with that. So that's like a belief that I think, I'd want to, I'd want to acknowledge my emotions to try to get invited to and acknowledge that belief. Yeah. This is one I like a lot. Positive impact of kindness. So witnessing or experiencing acts of kindness can lead to the belief kindness can change the world. And small acts of kindness make a big difference. Right? So that's a belief mindset. Those are beliefs.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm cruising along in life and I've got this general belief that I'm not particularly aware of, or I just don't think about it all the time, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like kindness can change the world. I absolutely believe that.
Yeah.
I just I love kindness. I love watching it happen, even if it's like, you're like at the grocery store or something, and you just see an act of kindness, like somebody's helping somebody.
Yeah.
Right. Just for no reason.
Right.
It just gives me a little charge of energy. I like it. It makes me feel super good.
And I'm sure there's been moments in your life where a simple act of kindness changed your world
in a big way.
So that it's true.
Yeah, exactly. Right? It can just totally shift you so slightly into, like, as we say, another thread of reality, right?
Yeah.
But man, kindness is that's a big deal. It's a really big deal.
Right. And it's interesting. I mean, someone that holds that belief, they're going to perpetuate that. They're going to create or do these acts of kindness. And someone that doesn't hold that belief, I mean, this is like hurt people, right?
Yeah, sure.
If you haven't experienced a lot of acts of kindness in your life, then that's what you're going to perpetuate.
Yeah, and then again,
until someone breaks that cycle.
Until somebody breaks the cycle. Yeah. Thank you. And that's this idea that it's like kind of dawned on us, like, oh wait, we can have kindness beliefs, and we can have old beliefs that are not tied to kindness.
Right.
So we can have both of them.
Yeah.
Right. Then we can kind of end up in a kind of a confusing place. Mm-hmm. We can end up in a place of like, I haven't felt this way before, but I've heard this. Like, I think I saw it on a movie where somebody got offended or mad by some act of kindness, and they were upset with themselves afterwards. They were like, I can't believe I got upset because I saw this act of kindness. And then they were like, upset with himself, like disappointed with themselves. Well, it's like, I wish I remember what the movie was I saw where I saw that. But that's kind of like a situation where it's like, no, I've got conflicting beliefs.
Yeah.
Right.
It triggered that other side in their mind.
Yeah. And then to your point, like, acknowledging that about yourself and like exploring that, that can start to, our new beliefs don't neutralize our old beliefs, but our new beliefs help us to acknowledge our old beliefs and give ourselves some grace, and then start to reconcile, right? Start to educate ourselves, right? So then again, we can change that. But yeah, no, I think kindness is water, man, air. Mm-hmm. It's just one of the principal things that we need to live.
Yeah. It keeps you balanced.
It keeps you alive.
For sure.
I mean, I think it's critical.
Yeah.
I think it's super critical. I'm grateful. I'm so grateful I have so many kind people in my life.
Yeah.
Like, truly kind. Like, you're like, you're one of the kindest people I know.
Thank you, dude.
I know you really are.
I try.
And no, you are. You're just naturally like so kind. Like you just like to everybody.
Thank you, dude.
You just and you're good. You set a really good kindness example.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so many, all the people in my life do. I'm just like, I wonder if this is like a belief I have. Like I wonder how kind I am, like on the kind meter.
Okay.
You know, but I'm around so many kind people.
Yeah.
I have to believe that I'm kind because I attract kind people in my life. They're like so kind. Like but every now and then I'm just like, man, am I that kind? Like, because they're just like, I'm so grateful to have so many people in my life that are incredibly kind, and it really continues to kind of put the fuel on the fire of that belief.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, you call it kindness. Like, I think in myself, something I try to really focus on is like service. I really
cool.
focus.
I
try to serve other people
Ah.
and have people in my life that reciprocate that. Right. It's not about just like, oh, I'm just going to serve everybody that I meet, because, then you're going to run into people that don't ever reciprocate that, or just keep taking.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, finding, I don't know. That's the way that I view it is I'm serving
That's
other
cool.
people that I know that's going to reciprocate with.
No, I like that. It kind of makes me think of this thing I heard, because if you're serving, you're giving, right? And I know this is going to sound a little bit off track, but it popped in my mind, so I'm gonna share it because once I heard this, I can't remember who I heard it from. He's amazing motivational speaker. I hope his name pops in my mind here before. So this is not mine. This is something I heard, but I loved it. And he was explaining the true definition of introverts and extroverts. And I literally I always would have categorized myself as an extrovert.
Yeah.
Would you say that?
I think that's...
You know me very, very well.
Yeah,
so.
I think that's the side of yourself that is displayed outwardly, but I think that there is absolutely a part of yourself that is an introvert.
Well, okay.
That's
and
my
you haven't
honest
even
thought.
heard this definition,
Okay.
and you're spot on.
Okay.
You're spot on. You're right. And you know me very, very well. But the way he defines an extrovert, and I just instantly was like, oh, I'm an introvert. Holy shit. I had no idea that I'm a social introvert.
Sure.
But the way he defined it, he said, imagine the introvert and the extrovert, with a bag of coins.
Okay.
In the morning, the introvert wakes up with a whole bag of coins. Okay. And any social engagement, you have to spend a coin.
Got it.
Okay. Doesn't matter what it is. Now, social engagement with you is easy. It's probably one coin.
Okay.
Half a coin. Social engagement, maybe with a, new client or some complicated situation or whatever, that's going to take a lot of coins.
Yeah.
You get up on stage and speak to 1,000 people. That's your
Bag
bags.
of coins.
And some.
Yeah.
It's burnt. But as an introvert, you really can be very social and have great conversations with people and, be a great conversationalist and a great communicator, but yet you're spending coins and you're thinking of that. That's kind of what's in your mind is, I don't want to get to the end of the day with an empty bag.
Got you.
Like, I got to budget, where I'm spending these coins. So from an introvert standpoint, the idea there is like, okay, I got to spend coins.
Yep.
The mindset is, I need to spend coins.
Yep.
Right. But I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning. I'm going to have a whole fresh bag.
Yep.
But it's like, as we're budgeting, we're not spending. So we need to spend. We need to spend. Right.
Yeah.
And an extrovert wakes up in the morning with an empty bag. And every time that person, has an engagement with somebody else, a coin goes into the bag, or lots of coins go into the bag. Right.
Yeah.
So standing up on stage for an extrovert, like, you're just filling bags of coins. It's like filling bags of coins.
Yeah.
Right. Or else he's at a party filling bags of coins.
I think I must be an introvert then in that definition.
I totally am. I have to spend coins.
The thing is, though, sometimes I also need that. I think it's a balance, right? Like even an introvert likes to be around people sometimes.
Well, and by the way, what you said made me think of that. And you said, and I appreciate it. I thought it was really, really cool.
Yeah.
Because that is the case. You invest in people.
Yeah.
Very naturally, and you do serve. You know, and you're so helpful. You know, and that is amazing. But you know, you are spending those coins.
Yeah.
And you know, you have to budget that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it made me think of that.
No, that's true.
That's true. I don't know. I kind of went up like off track there for a minute.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was like, I thought it was interesting. Yeah.
I like that thought. And, you know, that's what you need to be careful with.
Yeah.
Let's make sure your bank isn't empty by the end
Yeah.
of the day.
Like, you know, I think acts of kindness are just so important and they're so cool.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, just, you know, if you can kind of create that muscle memory of that service or that kindness, you know, you just give to people, and give to yourself, you know. I think that's cool, and I think there's a lot of belief mindsets that kind of create some interesting perspectives around that.
Right.
But it's you know, something that can be practiced as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Just be cognizant of, you know, exactly what we've said. What belief is arising right now? Where can I be looking for these new ones? Can I consider the opposite of, you know, this belief that
once I do acknowledge it, what's the counter belief to it? And think about it, right?
Yeah, just consider it.
Just kind of consider it.
And acknowledge that they're both equally valid.
Yeah. I mean, you look, you know, reality is reality based on belief, and everybody, it's a belief.
If you hold one belief, you can be certain someone else holds the exact opposite belief, and they both believe that.
And some variation of it.
Yeah.
But everybody's belief is valid.
Right.
It's their belief.
Right. And you also have the power to change it. And alter it, or at least be cognizant of it.
Reconcile.
I like that word better because it's not destroying it.
Yeah,
it's you're making friends with it.
You'd be destroying a part of yourself.
You're making friends.
You're
with
just kind of like re-engaging, you know, and reconciling.
Yeah.
And well, listen, man, it's been incredible. We had such an awesome session with Jason.
Yep.
We have Lonnie coming up.
Yep.
He's like Lonnie Main.
He's
red
amazing.
shoes.
Yeah. I cannot wait for that conversation. What an awesome dude.
I know, man. He's as cool as they come, and I'm just so honored that we get to spend some time with him, and he's going to come share some thoughts. So I'm super excited about that, and just having a lot of fun with this, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Chat.
Right on.
See you.